Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Wednesday, December the 13th, almost halfway through the month of December. Starting off with St. Louis. It feels like St. Louis is the one that's going to dominate the news cycle on and off here, although the Capitals may as well, and we'll get into that. But Jacob Vrana's cleared waivers, so that means that if a team picked him up right now, they wouldn't have to put him on waivers. They could just have him directly in the minors. So it does improve his tradability. We'll see whether or not anybody calls Doug Armstrong about picking him up. Doug Armstrong talking about how the organization's, having its struggles right now. The decision to fire Craig Berube and something else that he's done, he has hired Brad Richards as a consultant. And I don't know that I've seen this before. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this, but he has hired Brad Richards to look at the team's power play and send suggestions. Usually, in this kind of a situation, if you're not happy with an aspect of the team, you'll hire somebody as an associate coach to stand behind the bench. In this case, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening with Richards. He won't be behind the bench. It's an interesting scenario they find themselves in. We'll see if he can figure out what's wrong with the power play. Honestly, the sarcastic side of me thought Richards' message to Army would be get better players, but I'm just that's the sarcastic side of me. Is Jason Robertson available? Maybe pick up Connor McDavid, stuff like that. But at any rate, hopefully they get their power play figured out. The Blues were on a good run not too long ago, so I have no doubt that they can get hot again. It's a matter of being able to stay in that vein and get some wins together and not have to worry about being just below the playoff line. But that's where we're at right now with St. Louis. So I've seen the comments about how it's on the GM and it's the team. I've seen that both here on the channel in the comment section. I've also seen it from those in the media too. So we'll see what happens from here. The Boston Bruins have waived Jacob Zboril. I do not expect Zboril to be picked up. And again, Zboril, player we talk about when we talk about the Boston Bruins in the 2015 draft. So Zboril is a UFA at the end of this year, and so he's on waivers right now if a team wants to pick him up for free. So the Washington situation, first off, I'll start with the little arrow in the purple here. They're expected to sign Ethan Bear. They're the team that's seen as the one most likely to sign him. It is expected when it was said yesterday that the Canucks were out on him. That was the team that was rumored to be the one most likely to sign him. They were the front runner. Now, the team has, their owner, Ted Leonsis, has gotten together with the governor of Virginia and, to get together with, I think it was the mayor they had the talk with today as well, but reaching a framework to move operations to Virginia and have a new arena in place for 2028. I believe I saw a comment yesterday on the channel about how the Capitals have an agreement with the lease that they're using right now until 2027. Well, that deals with that then. But it's interesting. It's 6 miles from their current arena, but boy, do people really hate this idea. The general feeling on this seems to be they hate it. They absolutely hate the idea. There's also some expectation that City Council won't be quick to take this up and just rubber stamp it. So this is one of those situations where it may not be so simple. People are not happy about the placement. They're not happy about the traffic. And again, the traffic in DC, I mentioned it yesterday in the video. That the traffic's bad in that area, and people saying, yeah, this is one of the worst traffic areas in the entire world, and you're going to put an arena there, and talking about how crazy an idea that is, and how there's businesses in the area, and what are going to happen to them, and this kind of thing. So it does definitely sounds like this could end up being a little bit of a fight. In fact, I even saw on the formerly known as Twitter, there's already posters being put up on telephone poles. Stop the stadium posters are already up. So that was fast. That was very fast. Less than 24 hours after we hear that a stadium's planning to be built. I think it's the Potomac Yard. But yeah, that's where we're at. And the Stop the Stadium posters are already up, and it looks like the public fight is going to be on. It's not quite as simple as it may sound. Now, they may end up pushing this through, but I would actually kind of find it entertaining if this ends up needing a public vote. If City Council's like, you know what, we'll go to a public vote, because we saw in Arizona how hard it is to win the public over. if it's a scenario where they're going to have to pay money in taxes, or even if there's the potential for paying money in taxes for a project, it motivates people to come out and say no. Especially the older people, and the older people are far more likely to vote than the younger people. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the Washington move to Virginia, the 6 miles, 20-minute difference apparently in drive time. But there are some people who aren't happy with this idea of going from downtown DC to the Virginia. And again, it's right there. It's not like a big move. It's not a big deal. It'd be like the Vancouver Canucks moving to Langley. It honestly, it's not a huge deal. You wouldn't have to change the team's name or anything, but traffic-wise, right? So yeah, you guys let me know if you think it'll go through. It's not going to be a big deal, or do you think there's a chance that the public will get involved and say no and try to put a spanner in the works? All right, kind of a surprising bit of news out of Minnesota. I don't normally talk about assistant GMs leaving a team, but it feels like there's something here. So Chris O'Hearn, who has been referred to as Bill Guerin's right-hand man for years. He was hired as assistant GM back in 2019. He has left the organization. The team posting that it's mutual, they've parted ways. I think Jesse Pierce posted it on the formerly known as Twitter with just wow or ooh or something like that. Like it's a surprise to local media in Minnesota that Chris O'Hearn would leave the team. And it leads you to wonder, is there something else going on behind the scenes? Is there a power struggle of some sort going on in Minnesota? I wouldn't be overly surprised considering the cap issues the team has, the fact they've underperformed on the ice. And Bill Guerin wants them to be a playoff team. He doesn't want to, go through the rebuild process. He believes this team can still stay competitive. It's about staying competitive while they're dealing with that cap penalty and then emerge on the other side as a contender as well. So we'll see if the O'Hearn exit is just one and done on its own, or if it's a sign of something else with the organization. But that's where we're at with the Minnesota Wild right now. So I figured reverse retro Minnesota Wild. Why not? The NHL, hearing some complaints, and I have been really one that will complain about the All-Star game and its format. So the players will be drafting the teams, so it won't be division by division now. It's going back to the old drafting. Remember when they drafted and Phil Kessel was the last guy that got drafted, and then the NHL decided, that's not really fair. And eventually we got rid of the idea of players picking guys. Who cares who the last pick is? So they're going back to that apparently this year. And they're revamping the All-Star Skills competition altogether. Connor McDavid helping them with this. And one winner will take $1 million. And from what I was reading through, it sounds like it's going to be either a skater or a goaltender. And there's going to be 12 players that are picked out of the 44 All-Stars who will get a chance. They will get a chance to win the $1 million. The skills that will be on display will be more traditional skills. So none of the goofy pre-taped stuff. Think along the lines of Vegas and then last year in Florida. Last year in Florida, that was the skills competition people really did not enjoy. The NHL apparently heard this, and I'm guessing that TV ratings or just overall discussions amongst hockey fans have convinced them to change their minds. Or maybe ESPN or Sportsnet / Rogers called them up and said, what is this? How do we sell this to people? What even is this? So they're going back to more traditional stuff, and it will measure who the most skilled player is. It ends up in kind of a shootout, and then they have like an obstacle course, and it's going to show us who's very talented. And as Connor McDavid said, $1 million is a lot of money. Guys, you're going to get really competitive for $1 million. So it might get rid of some of the laughing around, joking around, and all the casual stuff. But $1 million is a pretty good motivator. So while I'm still intending to have vacation during All-Star weekend, and just that week in general, because it's pretty quiet around the NHL, and that's the only chance I have to have some kind of a break during the season. I will admit, this does make me interested to see who's going to get that $1 million, and why is it going to be Brock Besser? I really hope it's Brock Besser. Anyways, so just personally, just saying. But yeah, so they're going to revamp the All-Stars competition, and again, it sounds more like what it was, say, 30 years ago, which is when I really enjoyed the skills competition, because I don't know, it felt like you were finding out who was the most accurate shooter, who was the fastest skater. You were finding out all this stuff, and now it just it's felt different recently. It's just kind of goofy. So if they get the goofy part out, I think that's for the best. We've talked about OHL suspensions to coaches. Now today we're going to talk about one to a player. And I noticed the last name, and I thought, so related? Yep. So OHL suspended Sawyer Boulton. Now Sawyer Boulton's been suspended before. London Knights player, he gets 10 games. So basically a goal scored and he delivers a headshot to the goal scorer. Sue Greyhound's captain had scored the goal, and that was against London Knights. It was a hotly disputed game. Basically, there was an offside goal that counted, and London wasn't happy about it. But yeah, Sawyer Boulton delivers a headshot on the goal scorer in that play, and so he's out for 10 games for the London Knights. I think that's fair. And if who's going to say anything about how the NHL should have more severe suspensions, I agree. I absolutely 100% agree. I think that they need to have some sort of a standard and to start enforcing said standard. Because it does feel like when a play happens, the first thing we do is we go to, well, and we try to find an excuse around a suspension. And, it does feel like that happens at the National Hockey League level. But if Sawyer Boulton, if that name sounds familiar, not related to Michael Bolton. Nope, that's the guy from Office Space. But yeah, he is the son of Eric Boulton, who had 1,421 penalty minutes in his NHL career in 654 games. Eric Boulton wasn't scared to drop the gloves. I don't remember him getting suspended. It doesn't mean he didn't. I just don't remember Eric Boulton being like a dirty player or anything. So yeah, his son, tough player. In I think it's 19 games with London. I think he has 33 penalty minutes, something along those lines so far. But he's going to be out for 10 games, so let me know your thoughts, especially if you saw the play. Again, when a player has scored a goal, they don't expect to get hit. I was reading an article today on Sportsnet about how players don't expect to get hit anymore, which makes the hits look worse. And I agree. I do agree with that players not expecting to get hit, they don't brace themselves. It absolutely makes it look worse. So when the guy comes in and hits you Trouba style, you're far more likely to get hurt. But at any rate, that's a whole other discussion for a whole other time. Let me know your thoughts about this suspension to London Knights Sawyer Boulton. So the Winnipeg Jets have confirmed, we knew this was going to be the case, Kyle Connor is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Just the doctors looked at him to confirm, and it's 6 to 8 weeks for Kyle Connor, who took a knee-on-knee hit from Ryan Strome, which was penalized at the time. There was no suspension handed out. It's a whole other discussion for a whole other time, but hopefully Connor's back in 6 weeks rather than 8. One thing about last night's loss against San Jose, you could really see the difference without Kyle Connor in the lineup to Winnipeg's attack. So tonight against LA, we'll see if they've adjusted a little bit and if things get better for them. Again, there's former LA Kings in the Winnipeg lineup. There's also that Pierre-Luc Dubois, or PL Dubois as he wants to be called now, playing for the Kings. So we'll see how that turns out. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.